yesterday's one big thing, a mysterious plane crash in Russia. Russian mercenary chief Yevgeny Prigozhin was listed as a passenger on a private plane that crashed north of Moscow yesterday, killing all 10 passengers on board, according to Russian authorities. The crash is the latest in the drama and intrigue related to the Wagner mercenary force and its boss's relationship with Vladimir Putin. We caught up with Washington reporter Missy Ryan last night to update this. Hi, Missy. Welcome to Next News Today.
Thank you so much.
At this point, what do we know about this crash?
Russian authorities are saying that a private aircraft associated with Wagner crashed shortly after takeoff outside of Moscow, and that, according to Russian authorities, all 10 people on the aircraft died, and that Prigozhin was one of the names listed on the manifest. So when you think about the impact of this possible death of Prigozhin, what can we conclude from the fact that everybody is assuming that Putin did try to take out Prigozhin, whether or not that was true? I think it says something about how modern Russia operates.
Missy, what are you hearing from your sources inside the State Department about how the U.S. is perceiving all of this right now?
Well, what we've been told by Biden administration officials in the last few hours is that they really don't have much information at this stage. You know, you had the spokesperson for the National Security Council come out and say that if it was an attempt on Prigozhin's life, it wouldn't be surprising. That's very much in keeping with what Bill Burns and President Biden have said in the past. I think one of the important things to remember is that even if the Russian government comes out and says that Prigozhin is dead or is not dead, I think just goes to show the lack of trust that the international community has with the Russian regime at this point.
Right, and given all of that uncertainty around this, Missy, how should we be trying to interpret this news?
I think that the bottom line is, number one, this is another indication that Wagner's moment is most likely over, and that has implications for Russia's influence beyond its borders, especially in some of these vulnerable places like Syria, Libya, different parts of Africa, where Wagner has been active and Russia would like to play an increased role. And then the second point is an indication of the severity of the challenge that Putin may face, whether it's that he had to go to the lengths of assassinating an opponent or a challenger. That tells you something. So I think it is an indication of Putin's attempt to keep this tight grip on power at a moment of real vulnerability because of what the war in Ukraine has shown us.
Missy Ryan writes about diplomacy, national security, and the State Department from the Washington Post. Thanks, Missy.
Thank you.
After the break, India joins the race to the moon.
Got a business problem? There's a TED Talk for that. Stay updated on everything business on TED Business, a podcast hosted by Columbia Business School professor Ludupe Akilova. Every week, she'll introduce you to leaders with unique insights on work, answering questions like, how do 4-day work weeks work? Will a machine never take my job? Get some surprising answers on TED Business, wherever you listen to podcasts.
Welcome back to Next News Today. I'm Nina. India made history yesterday and landed its first space mission on the moon. This came after a Russian spacecraft crashed into the moon on Sunday ahead of its own landing attempt. And all of this is happening as we're looking more and more to the moon and what we can learn from it and even how we can make money. Here to help us dig deeper is Next News' senior space reporter, Miriam Kramer. Hi, Miriam.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So, Miriam, let's start with India. How big of an accomplishment is this?
It's a huge deal. India is now only the 4th nation to successfully soft land a spacecraft on the moon. I mean, it's a pretty big moment. Like, this country has been working toward becoming a major player in space for many, many years, and this just vaults them into, a new category.
And do we know what happened with Russia this past weekend?
Yes, we have some idea. Ahead of the landing attempt, the spacecraft Luna 25 was executing this engine burn. And instead of cutting off when it was supposed to, it just kept right on burning. It crashed into the moon, and then Russia put out a statement basically saying that the spacecraft ceased to exist on the lunar surface.
So why so much interest in the moon right now?
Well, it's kind of a proving ground. A lot of different nations have a variety of ambitions on the moon. I mean, the U.S. has said that They want to establish this sustained presence on the lunar surface of crewed missions. You need robotic missions to go and kind of scout things out first. China is also planning on landing people on the moon within the next decade or so. And we're just seeing a lot of interest, in part because it's just a pretty nearby object. I mean, it's only 3 days away at the fastest speeds, and that makes it really appealing. There's a lot of pride wrapped up in being able to send something to the moon.
If people are planning to try to make money on the moon, how do we figure out who gets access and control? Is it whoever gets there first?
That's a complicated question, and one I'm sure a lot of space lawyers are interested in answering these days. But the basics of it are that according to the Outer Space Treaty, which is sort of the document that governs most uses of outer space, you can't claim an object as yours, like the U.S. can't go to the moon and say, this is ours now, no one else can come here. But it's okay to put your own stuff on it and kind of say that, hey, like, don't mess with our things in this particular area. There's also these questions about, like, these companies who want to mine the moon for resources, maybe extracting water or grabbing elements, whatever it might be. And so there are going to be some really interesting and potentially thorny questions about whether they have a right to actually mine or get their materials up there, use them. It's going to be a kind of interesting
to regulate the cost of it within a state, it has ended up being similar. So it's about 21 cents per minute because it's difficult for phone companies to track exactly where the call is going.
So 21 cents translates to more than $5 for a half an hour phone call. If these calls are cost-effective, what would that be?
So it has a degree effect on your ability to connect with someone outside of the facility, which versus something like that so that is why mental health experts suggest this that this is really important to reduce the status and chances of something like that.
So does Martha right-wing activism and the person at the FCC consider the cost of prison phone calls? What do we need to know?
The FCC has between June and December of 2024 to come up with a rule. For example, they're going to have to determine how to incorporate security and safety costs. This process started more than 20 years ago when Martha Wright Reed, a telecommunications advocate, sued the Corrections Corporation of America because her grandson was incarcerated and she realized just how expensive it was to stay in touch with him. Eventually, in 2013, the FCC announced that it would set caps on calls being made across state lines, and with the passage of the Martha Wright Reed Act, the FCC was able to now regulate calls within the state as well.
Maria Carey is the author of the FCC Public Policy and Americans Coming Up. Thank you. That is it for us today. I'm Natalie Voodoo. Thanks for listening. Stay safe. And we'll see you back here tomorrow.
a business problem? There's a TED Talk for that. Stay updated on everything business. TED Business, a podcast hosted by Columbia Business School professor Ludupe Akinova. Every week, she interviews utility leaders with unique insights on work. Answering questions like, how did Ford able to will a machine ever take my job? This is surprising answers. TED Business and Live.
LinkedIn presents
Whether or not you believe that the criminal charges are right or wrong, the conduct is beneath the office of President of the United States.
Eric, with so many candidates vying for attention, who made the biggest impression?
Well, I think they all struggle over time and win states in an elegant way, but Mr. Daley has some of the strongest moments, especially for a conventional politician, which challenged Thomas Ronnie's foreign policy ideas, even when they're supporting the guy in the prison. But you gotta start that way before.
This guy is a murderer, and you are choosing a murderer over a black.
Yeah, and Thomas Ronnie, a really political, he almost came off as a conservative. Articulating the things that anti-politicians vow that Trump used to set the best conspiracy theories. But he ran out of steam halfway through the debate and began to look less optimistic and more open that. But then it's also surprised with an occasionally combative style. He's not well liked among GOP voters. And I think Ron DeSantis didn't hurt himself with any calves, and he also didn't dominate the stage the way you would expect a guy running for second place to Trump to do.
Sarah, one area of policy difference that came through among the candidates was abortion. It's a topic important to the party's base, yet it's one reason why Republicans underperformed in the midterm elections in the wake of that Supreme Court decision that overturned Roe v. Wade. How did that conversation play out on stage?
So you heard candidates like former Vice President Mike Pence and South Carolina Senator Tim Scott, both social conservatives who are making a strong play for evangelical votes. They called for national abortion restrictions, but Haley has been more cautious about how she frames this issue. She's staked out a position that may be less likely to alienate general election voters.
When it comes to a federal ban, let's be honest with the American people and say it will take 60 Senate votes. It will take a majority of the House. So in order to do that, let's find consensus.
But Pence has been pushing his Republican rivals to support at least a 15-week national ban if Republicans ever got enough votes. He talked about his religious beliefs and made clear he sees this as a moral issue.
To be honest with you, Nikki, you're my friend, but consensus is the opposite of leadership.
So we've been talking about the way the candidates performed last night. Let's talk about the people who were asking the questions, Eric. Veteran Fox News correspondent Brett Baer and Mark McCallum, how'd they do?
I think they had a lot of trouble controlling the crowd, and they regularly seem to allow the candidates to blow through the time limits for speaking. In a way, this is another norm that Trump has obliterated through his debate performances, creating a situation where the audience doesn't seem to mind if the candidates disregard the rules and talk for as long as they want about whatever they want. They also ask several questions that might seem odd to anyone who doesn't spend a lot of time watching Fox News coverage. Everything from starting the debate with a question about a pop song, criticizing Washington politicians, to asking about UFOs. So I think this was interesting.
Eric, Trump's pre-recorded interview, Tucker Carlson, former Fox host, was put up 5 minutes before the debate on Fox News, deemed counter-programming. Does that threaten Fox News' status as the most influential outlet in conservative media?
Not so far. I mean, Trump's interview was pre-recorded, and I think people could duck into it or out of it whenever they wanted while the debate was live. But it is notable that the current frontrunner for the GOP nomination is feuding with Fox News. They both need each other in a way because Trump reaches his base through them, and they need his connection to the base. So it'll be interesting to watch these two tiptoe around each other as the nomination process unfolds.
So before I let you go, Sarah, I'd like to end with you. You had a good night, and who felt that?
Well, Ramaswamy did seem to be getting a lot of buzz on social media for whatever that's worth. Had some big moments. Pence and Haley had those strong moments. Christie has a difficult task as an anti-Trump Republican, but solidified that image. We'll see how that works for him. And like Eric said, DeSantis, I think, was a big underperformer of the night. He just didn't have a lot of big breakout moments candidates are looking for at the stage. NPR's Sarah McCammon and Eric Beggins, thank you both so much.
Thank you.
Now we need a high school senior with a side hustle.
My name is Kira DeConde, and at the Hill Fire Company, I'm a volunteer. I'm a junior firefighter. Kira lives in White Marsh Township, Pennsylvania. I would see a lot of signs out at different stations, and they were all requesting help and volunteers needed. So that was kind of the first thing that drew me to it and made me feel like I could help out.
So she told her mom, Betsy DeConde, she wanted to be a firefighter.
When Kira decided that she was going to apply, I felt that me not knowing enough about the fire segment, one way for me to kind of educate myself about it would be to also participate and volunteer. And so that's when I joined the effort.
Yeah, her mom joined with her.
I was surprised because I had expected to just do it by myself,
and she never really talked to me about wanting to do it as well. It was kind of spontaneous, so it was a nice surprise.
The kind of spontaneous combustion. After training for the past year, Kira and Betsy are now certified, fighting a trend in which fewer people than in the past serve as volunteer firefighters. We're on fire this morning. Send your news.
Support comes from Rebuild Studio. The artists of Rebuild Studio repair, restore, and preserve original paintings, frames, fine metal items, collectibles, antiques, family heirlooms, and items of sentimental value. Papers are available. You can visit rebuild.com to learn more. WIEULD.com.
Just ahead in 8 minutes, it's the Marketplace Morning Report, then the BBC World Service News Hour at 9. Checking traffic. This rain is causing some headaches throughout the listening area. In Butler County, a wreck has 3 left lanes blocked northbound 75 off the Butler Regional Highway. Broken down on the right shoulder in Boone County, 7175 northbound at Richwood. A wreck on the southbound exit ramp. The right shoulder block 675 southbound about 75 that's up to the Dayton area. 275 eastbound just after Hamilton Avenue, an accident on a wreck on the left shoulder. A bunch of problems up in the Montgomery area. 75 northbound just south of Dixie. 75 southbound just after Miamisburg Centerville Road. And some traffic blocked by downed trees throughout the Dayton area, so watch out for that.
Do you ever look up at the night sky and wonder, what's out there? What could be happening across the vast universe right now? If you're interested in all things space, you can join me, Peter Rivas, and a special guest every other Friday, Looking Up podcast from scientists on the front line of new scientific discoveries, fellow astronomy lovers like myself, looking up at flights and new expert on the show every episode. And there's something new to learn for even the most seasoned space explorer. Listen to Looking Up at WVXU.org or wherever you get your podcasts.
Like I said, some rain moving through the tri-states causing a few power outages and some downed trees and things, so watch out for that. It will slow down the heat, but the heat is coming. There's an excessive heat warning and heat advisory for today. Temperatures could feel like 105 to 110, the hottest we've experienced in over 10 years. And still very muggy tonight, a low of 76. Former President Donald Trump will voluntarily surrender to the Fulton County Jail in Atlanta today. NPR News will bring you special coverage of his expected booking as it unfolds Thursday. We're thinking that'll happen around All Things Considered, so we'll have special coverage then. Tune in on 91.7 WBXU. It's 8:45.
Support for NPR comes from this station and from Melville Charitable Trust, committed to ensuring all people have a safe, stable, and affordable home that allows them to thrive. Information about ways to prevent and solve homelessness is at lemelson.org, and from the Doris Duke Foundation.
Bell gang shit.